the White Wolf, the king in the north. The king in the north!
Sam Darnold did nothing wrong. Alright y'all, so I feel as though I have a pretty unique perspective to add to this Lions and Vikings games for two reasons. Number one, born and raised in Detroit, obviously I'm going to become a Lions fan. However, over the years, I've become a Vikings fan as well. And the reason why that happened is because growing up, I used to hate the Vikings, like absolutely hated them. And every time the Lions played against them, I felt like we would always get destroyed, and Adrian Peterson was running everywhere. And, I just felt like the Lions were always getting absolutely obliterated by the Minnesota Vikings. And I hated the Vikings for that. But then eventually, as I got older, it's kind of one of those things similar to Steph Curry, where it's like you kind of hate on Steph Curry when he's first, making his way up. But then once all the dust settles, you kind of look back and be like, you know what, Curry is very talented, doesn't really lash out in the media. I kind of like Curry. And it's the same thing with the Vikings. Used to hate them, but now I kind of respect them. And I feel as though I keep up with them more than any other team in the NFL outside of the Lions. And I'm actually rooting for them to win a lot of games. So I would consider myself a Vikings fan now. So, for this game coming up, it was very pulling on both of my heartstrings, to say the least. So the first thing I want to say with regards to this game, first I'm going to address the Vikings people, and then later on in this video, I'm going to focus on the Lions. So on the Viking side of things, I would just say calm down. Do not overreact. We lost. It's all right. Don't overreact, okay? Now, if you lose to the Rams next week, then I would understand why you would begin to, start questioning the team and Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores and things of that nature. But as of right now, as someone who is a Vikings fan, I am still very, very confident with this team. So let's start with the title of this video, Sam Darnold. I don't want to hear any slander, any negativity. Sam Darnold did nothing wrong. 22 for 27, 259 yards. Yes, he didn't see Brian Branch in that play where he threw the interception, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. We don't want to hear any fucking Sam Darnold slander over here. JJ McCarthy is the future, but you brought in Darnold. It's kind of a veteran. It sounds crazy to consider Darnold a veteran now, because I remember just a few years ago when he was a rookie. But as I was saying, JJ McCarthy is the future. So you bring in Darnold as a veteran backup. And when McCarthy goes down, all you can hope for with Sam Darnold is that he plays decent. He plays okay. He limits his mistakes. He gets a talented all-time great receiver like Jefferson the ball, and you rely on the other areas of your team to get you W's. And that's literally what Sam Darnold has done the entire season. Now, yes, it got a little bit crazy and a little bit overrated when they were calling him like an MVP candidate. I don't know how you can be that after like 3 or 4 weeks, but the start of the season, he was very hot against some pretty talented teams. But let's remember who Sam Darnold is. He's not bad, he's not great, but sometimes, he can look good. I feel like Sam Darnold is a quarterback who can be anywhere from decent to good, depending on the type of team and the situation that he's put in. And I feel as though he's proven that this entire season. And in this game against the Lions, he is not the reason at all why you lost this game. Sam did his job. He kept you close. He didn't, finish it off in the end with that pass to Justin Jefferson. But, in my book, Sam is all right. I got no complaints this game with regards to Sam Darnold. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about, the defense, Brian Flores for the Minnesota Vikings. That's another thing that I'm not really going to complain about from the Vikings side of things. And you just got to keep it real as a Vikings fan out there. The Lions are that good. Jared Goff, perfect passes out there. Best running game in the NFL, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, which you guys gave a lot of pressure to, especially in that first quarter. The defense, Brian Flores, I can understand why you would want them to go out there and kind of pull through and win you a game. But if they don't, I don't think you can really hold that against them. They've done it all season long. And eventually, we knew y'all wasn't going to go 17-0. The loss had to come at some point. Well, I guess technically it didn't have to come, but you guys get what I'm saying. You've been solid enough for majority of the season. And even against the Lions, the best offense in the NFL, they didn't back down. They fought. They kept you in this game. They almost won you the game, and they lost at the end. Now, yes, you can complain a little bit about some of the outside runs that they allowed against the Lions. But again, like I said, top tier offensive line you're going up against. What can you do? Yes, you can complain a little bit about some of the key throws down the field. Amon-Ra St. Brown gashed against you guys. You know, if you want to complain about the secondary and some of the safeties, I can understand that a little bit. But for the most part, when it comes to the D-line and the linebackers, I feel like Flores did a good enough job. You damn well look like a Super Bowl contender on defense to me. Okay, guys, and let's not forget who the Vikings played up against. We keep on acting like, oh, the Lions game was the proving game on whether or not the Vikings are a good team. No, you beat the Houston Texans, who are a legit playoff contender. You beat the San Francisco 49ers, a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, they've struggled a little bit this season, but I think most people would generally still look at the San Francisco 49ers and be like, yeah, that's still a pretty solid team out there. And if you could ever beat a team like the 49ers, you've probably got some pretty good things going on with your own roster. You beat the Packers, who recently just beat the Texans, and you beat the Texans as well. So, you know, that's another quality win up there that you can chalk up. And the Jets, you know, I'm not going to defend the Jets too hard because I feel like they have a lot of things that you can criticize about, but the Jets have a solid defense, and you beat them as well. So in terms of all the positive things when it comes to the Vikings, I'll just finish it off here by saying you're legit. The defense, scary as hell when y'all went up 10-0. You know, from a Lions fan's perspective, I was like, oh, shoot, this is going to be a very, very long day for my team. However, it didn't end up going that way. So let's talk about some of the negatives with regards to the Minnesota Vikings. So the first thing that I would say is Kevin O'Connell. So far, how many seasons has it been? 3 years, 2 years, something like that since he's come in. The play calling in intense situations since he's arrived in Minnesota hasn't really been something that you're excited about. Especially, you know, if this team does have Super Bowl aspirations and wants to compete in the playoffs, you're going to come into games like today against the Detroit Lions where you have a minute, 2 minutes left in the game, and you're going to need smart, intelligent, most importantly, consistent, good late game play calling. And that's just something that Kevin O'Connell hasn't really showed so far. And that does worry me in terms of long-term in the season when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. Something else that I will add on to that is that you had 2 weeks prep time for the Detroit Lions, and the Lions recently came off of a game where they had to go crazy and put up 50 points against the Dallas Cowboys, while also, you know, losing Aiden Hutchinson. Now, granted, the injuries thing, I'm not really going to be on either side because the Lions have players injured, the Vikings have players injured, so I'm not really going to focus on that part too much. But what I'm basically trying to say is that, you know, with 2 weeks of prep time, there's no way you can go up 10-0 on your home field and lose that game. Someone has to be the blame. And, you know, unfortunately, when it comes to the NFL, there's one guy that people typically look towards, and that's the head coach. Sometimes you'll look at the quarterback. Sometimes you can look at the D-line, the defense. But specifically with this case, I feel as though you can't really blame Sam Darnold. You can't really blame the defense when you go up against a team like the Detroit Lions. I'm going to say you just have to look at Kevin O'Connell and maybe even the refs if you want to make that argument. The refs really ruined this game in my opinion. Too many flags on both sides of the ball if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But yeah, moving forward, the Vikings are a legitimate team, but a lot of work to do. Trade deadline is quickly approaching, and you have to, if you really, I think the Vikings have a chance to compete in the playoffs. But if we're talking about Super Bowl, you have to make a move at this deadline. And I heard someone say recently that, oh, this isn't the Vikings' year, next year's their season. I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, with the league like the NFL, I remember last year when the Lions lost in the playoffs, Dan Campbell was like, you never know when you're going to get back here. And I feel like that's 100% true. You look at a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, weren't they in the Super Bowl a few years ago? And ever since then, it's been a rocky path to get back there, and they haven't been back there up until the point of recording this video. So it's hard to have good, consistent teams in the NFL And when it comes to football, you know, I always take the approach that if you have a chance, if you think there's a possibility that you can win the Super Bowl in that season, you have to go all in. If it's a sport like basketball, you know, the NBA, I would understand a bit more why you look at your team like the Minnesota Timberwolves or another team in the NBA. If you look at them and be like, oh, we got to make a few moves, wait for the young guys to develop, blah, 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 and then in a few years we'll be there. I kind of understand that in the basketball sense, but specifically with football, no. F the draft picks. If you have a chance to get there, you have to do it now because you have no idea what things will look like in the NFL landscape in the next few years. Now let's talk Detroit Lions, my team, my hometown. Dan Campbell, don't you ever do that dumb shit again on the first drive of the game. What the fuck were you thinking? A fake punt against a team that was 5-0 on their home field, and you want to do a fake punt on the first drive? Don't do that shit again. Please don't do that shit ever again. Now, outside of that, I'm chilling. I'm gonna be completely honest. As a Lions fan, I'm chilling. Life is great as a Lions fan right now. You know, throughout this entire game, I was really calm. You know, I remember in the past when I was younger and previous Lions teams, I would look at and I'd be like, oh, this game I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't feel confident. I don't know how this game will end. But I really feel like with this team, you know, I could sit back and always feel like, yeah, we're going to win this game. Regardless of the situation, regardless of how many points we're down, I always feel like this team has the potential to control the pace of play and come out of nowhere and get back in the games. We are the third best team in the NFL, at least according to last year's standards, with losing in the conference championship. This year, we're looking like the best team in the NFL. We have undoubtedly the best offense in the NFL, undoubtedly the best running game in the NFL. I was very scared when I saw Montgomery going down, but thankfully he was able to get back up and be able to play later in the game. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, the interior defensive line played their role, kept us in the game, got us a few pressures on Sam Darnold, did decent against the run. It was kind of tough early in the game when Aaron Jones scored that early touchdown, but again, I feel like you point that at Dan Campbell because, again, why the fuck would you go for a fake punt that early in the game? But regardless, Jared Goff is so precise with the football right now. It's literally insane. He's playing some of the best football. Honestly, do we just say that this is the best Jared Goff that we've seen throughout his entire career? He is playing insane right now. The receivers, all of them came through with some pretty clutch catches on 3rd and long that we really needed throughout the game, especially in that fourth quarter. We really did not want to give the Vikings the ball back, and especially on that last drive, they came through for us. Now we still... this game definitely showed that we still do need some help on the edge. Obviously, Hutchinson was the top guy that we had, and without him, it can be a bit challenging. And I think with some of our opponents later in the season, it'll be a little bit more challenging. So maybe at the deadline, make a move. I don't know. But, you know, outside of that, we're kings in the North. Tough schedule ahead: 49ers, Texans, Packers, Colts. But I'm feeling good right now as a Lions fan. Top of the NFC, top of the NFC North. The Super Bowl push is real. It's legit. Now, I'm not going to stay on here too much longer. There are people who could break down the game of football way better than I can, talking about the X's and O's, the ins and outs, the defense, the offense, blah, blah, blah. You know, the secondary for the Lions, how they gave up a lot of yards to Sam Darnold, whatever. So I'm out. That's basically everything that I got to say. Please make sure that you guys like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Thank y'all for 7K, and I'm out.